There's a man sitting in his car right now. 6:47 a.m., engine off. He's staring at the steering wheel. Been there 11 minutes. He can't go inside yet because the moment he walks through those glass doors, puts on that smile, pretends the car payment isn't crushing him, pretends the watch on his wrist didn't go on a credit card, pretends he's not 3 bad months from losing everything, something inside him might shatter. You clicked this video because you know him. Maybe you are him. And somewhere underneath all the noise, you suspect the truth. That the people who look like they have less might actually be the only ones who are free. This isn't about poverty. It's about the cage you built with your own hands. The prison made of things you thought would set you free. And today, we're going to dismantle it, piece by piece, until you remember what freedom actually feels like. I want to tell you about someone I knew. Let's call him Michael. Michael was 32. Good job, good salary. And every year, without fail, he upgraded something. New car at 28, bigger apartment at 30, designer watch at 31. Each time, he'd feel incredible for about 3 weeks. Then the feeling would fade, and he'd start looking at what was next. By 32, Michael had everything he thought he wanted, and nothing he actually needed. This is what researchers call the hedonic treadmill. You run faster, the scenery changes, but you never actually arrive anywhere. Because here's the trap nobody warned you about. Every upgrade doesn't just cost money, it costs freedom. That new car payment, it's not just $500 a month. It's the job you can't leave, the risks you can't take, the life you can't explore, the word no you can't say when they ask you to stay late again. Michael learned this the hard way. When his company downsized, he had 3 months before everything collapsed. The car, the apartment, the image, all of it built on a foundation that could crack with one bad quarter. I remember what he said to me after. He said, "I thought I was building a life. I was just building a cage." The architecture of want is designed to trap you. Every new thing you buy comes with invisible strings attached. Insurance, maintenance, expectations, the need to maintain what you've built. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop living for yourself. You start living for the things you own. Most people spend their lives running on this treadmill, chasing the next upgrade, the next status symbol, the next proof that they've made it. But what if making it looks nothing like what we've been sold? What if the richest life is the one where you're free to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you? When I was younger, I worked with someone who drove a $70,000 car. Every morning, he'd pull into the parking lot, and you could see people notice the sleek lines, the logo, the statement. For about 6 months, I envied that. Then one day, we were talking about taking time off. I mentioned I was thinking about taking a month to travel. He looked at me and said, "I can't afford to do that." I was confused. His salary was triple mine. But then he explained the car payment was $1,200 a month. The insurance was another $300. The maintenance, well, you don't take a car like that to just any mechanic. He had the car, but the car had him. This is the weight of display that nobody talks about. Every expensive thing you own demands something from you. Time, energy, attention, money. The luxury watch needs servicing. The designer clothes need dry cleaning. The nice car needs premium gas and specialized parts. But here's what's even heavier: the psychological weight. Once you start displaying wealth, you can't stop. Because the moment you downgrade, People notice. They ask questions. They make assumptions about your success, your stability, your worth. And suddenly, you're not living for you anymore. You're living for them, for the neighbors who see your driveway, for the coworkers who notice your clothes, for the friends who compare their lives to yours. There's a French philosopher from the 1700s named Denis Diderot. He wrote an essay about receiving a beautiful red robe as a gift. The robe was stunning. But here's what happened. Once he had this beautiful robe, everything else in his home looked shabby by comparison. So he replaced his desk, then his chairs, then his bookshelf, then his entire home. And by the end, he was in debt, all because of one beautiful robe. This is called the Diderot Effect, and it's still happening today. You buy a nice car. Suddenly your old clothes don't match. You upgrade your clothes. Now your apartment feels too small. You move to a better place. Now you need nicer furniture. Each upgrade pulls you deeper into a web you didn't mean to build, and the weight gets heavier with every thread. The richest decision you can make is refusing to enter that web in the first place. Listen, there's something we need to talk about, and it's uncomfortable, but it's important. Most people who look rich aren't. A study came out recently showing that 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't make enough money, but because they spend everything they make. The new car is financed, the nice watch is on a credit card, the luxury vacation went on an installment plan. From the outside, they look successful. On the inside, they're one emergency away from collapse. This is the prison of more, and here's how it works. You make $50,000 a year. You live like you make $50,000. Then you get a raise to $70,000. And instead of saving that extra $20,000, you upgrade your life to match. Bigger rent, nicer car, more expensive habits. Now you're making $70,000, but you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Then you make $100,000, and the cycle repeats. You're making more than you ever dreamed. But you're no freer than you were at 50, because the bars of the prison grew with your income. I tried that too. And each time, the truth tugged me back. The truth that freedom doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. There's a concept in finance called the 4% rule. It says that once you can live on 4% of your savings per year, you're financially free. So if you need $50,000 a year to live, you need 1.25 million saved. If you need 40,000, you need 1 million. If you need 30,000, you need 750,000. See what happened there? Every $10,000 you cut from your annual expenses is $250,000 less you need to retire. The less you need, the faster you reach freedom. This isn't about deprivation. It's about clarity. Knowing the difference between what you need and what you've been told you need. Most people build their lives like Michael did, adding more and more until the weight becomes unbearable. But what if we built differently? What if we built light? What if we built with space to breathe? Here's what they don't tell you about expensive things. They come with invisible costs. Costs that don't show up on the price tag. Costs that follow you like shadows. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine bought a luxury SUV, $65,000. He was so proud, but here's what he didn't calculate. The insurance was 3 times higher than his old car. The gas mileage was terrible, premium fuel only. One set of tires cost $1,200. Annual maintenance started at $2,000. And certain replacement parts had to be ordered from overseas. Sometimes took months to arrive. He paid $65,000 for the car. But over 5 years, the true cost was closer to $90,000. That's $25,000 in invisible costs. Money he didn't budget for. Money he didn't see coming. Money that could have bought him a year of freedom. This is true for almost everything. The designer suit needs special dry cleaning. The luxury watch needs servicing every few years. The big house needs more furniture, more utilities, more maintenance. Each upgrade comes with a tail of expenses that follows you for years. But here's the cost nobody talks about, the opportunity cost. That $25,000 in maintenance and insurance could have been invested over 20 years at a 7% return. That's nearly $100,000. That's not just money. That's time. That's freedom. That's years of your life you could have bought back. Every expensive purchase isn't just taking money from your wallet today. It's taking time from your future. Think about your phone for a second. You can buy a $1,500 phone or a $300 phone that does 95% of the same things. That's $1,200 difference. Doesn't sound like much, but if you do that every 3 years and invest the difference instead, over 30 years, that's $100,000. That's not a phone purchase anymore. That's a year of freedom you just traded away for a slightly better camera, for a logo, for status that lasts 3 weeks before it feels normal. The richest people I know don't look rich. They drive 10-year-old cars that run perfectly fine. They wear simple clothes that last. They buy things once, not constantly. Not because they can't afford more, but because they've done the math. They know every dollar they don't spend on appearances is a dollar working for their freedom. Something strange happens when you look wealthy. Different people appear in your life, and not all of them love you. Some of them just love what you represent. Let me tell you what I mean. When you start driving a nice car, when you start wearing expensive clothes, when you start posting about luxury vacations, certain people take notice. Not all of them are there for the right reasons. Some see opportunity, some see status by association, some see someone who might pay for things. I watched this happen to someone close to me. The moment he started showing success, his circle changed. Old friends he hadn't heard from in years suddenly reached out. New friends appeared who always had expensive taste. Family members started asking for small loans. And every social event became more expensive. Because when you look like you have money, people expect you to spend like you have money. The restaurant choices change. The vacation expectations change. The birthday gift standards change. You become the one who's expected to pick up the check, to host the gatherings, to match everyone else's expensive choices. Not because you want to, but because refusing feels like admitting you can't afford it. And that's the trap. You're not just paying for your lifestyle anymore. You're paying to maintain the perception others have of you. But here's what I've learned. The people worth keeping in your life don't care what car you drive. They don't notice if your watch cost $100 or $10,000. They're not keeping score of who paid for dinner last. Still, part of you quietly hopes for another awake soul. Someone who sees past the surface. Someone who values substance over appearance. Someone who doesn't need you to perform wealth, to prove your worth. Those people exist, but you'll never find them while you're busy performing. Because authentic people are attracted to authenticity, not to displays, not to status, not to the expensive packaging. There's an old saying, if your absence doesn't affect them, your presence never mattered. The same is true for wealth displays. If someone's interest in you changes based on what you own, they were never interested in you to begin with. Looking poor or simply looking modest is a filter. It quietly removes the wrong people from your life and creates space for the right ones to find you. I want you to remember something you might have forgotten. There was a time in your life when you were happy with less. Maybe it was college. Maybe it was your first apartment. Maybe it was before you started measuring your worth by what you owned. You had an old car that got you places, clothes that were comfortable but not expensive, a small space that felt like home, and you were fine. More than fine, you were free. You could quit a job you hated. You could take risks. You could travel on a budget. You could pivot when life required it. Because you didn't have much to lose. Then something happened. You upgraded, got the nicer apartment, bought the better car, started dressing for the salary you wanted, not the life you had. And slowly, without noticing, that freedom disappeared. Because now you can't quit. You can't take risks. You can't afford to lose what you've built. The upgrades that were supposed to make you feel successful made you a prisoner instead. This is what Einstein meant when he said, "A calm and modest life brings more happiness than the pursuit of success combined with constant restlessness." He knew something most people spend their whole lives learning, that peace doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. There's a study that looked at lottery winners, people who won millions of dollars. And you know what they found? A few months after winning, their happiness levels returned to baseline, the same as before they won. Because happiness doesn't live in what you have. It lives in the space between wanting and needing. The smaller that gap, the more peace you feel, the more freedom you have, the more life you can actually live. When you look poor or simply choose not to look rich, you're reclaiming that freedom you forgot existed. The freedom to say no, the freedom to walk away, the freedom to change course when something no longer serves you. That freedom is worth more than any car, more than any watch, more than any luxury you've been sold, because at the end of your life, you won't remember the things you owned. You'll remember the moments you were free enough to choose. Here's what I need you to understand. This isn't about living in poverty. It's not about denying yourself things you genuinely love. It's about something deeper, something most people never ask themselves. It's about knowing the difference between what you want because you want it and what you want because you think it'll make you feel worthy. Most of what we buy isn't about the thing itself. It's about what we hope the thing will do for us. The car isn't about transportation. It's about respect. The watch isn't about telling time. It's about status. The clothes aren't about comfort. They're about belonging. But here's the truth. Those things can't give you what you're looking for. Respect that comes from what you own disappears the moment you lose it. Status based on possessions is as temporary as the possessions themselves. Belonging earned through displays isn't belonging at all. Real respect comes from who you are. Real status comes from the life you've built. Real belonging comes from being known, not from being seen. Look, you were always inside the room, just on the other side of the door. The version of yourself you've been looking for, the one who feels successful, the one who feels worthy, the one who feels enough. That version isn't waiting for you to earn more, or buy more, or display more. That version is already here, waiting for you to stop performing, stop proving, stop exhausting yourself trying to look like something you're not. I know what it feels like to chase the image, to think that the next upgrade will finally make you feel like you've made it. But after years of that chase, I can tell you what actually makes you feel like you've made it. It's waking up without dread. It's having enough saved that you can weather storms. It's being able to say no to things that don't serve you. It's walking away from situations that compromise your peace. That's success. Not the car, not the watch, not the Instagram post that gets 1,000 likes. Success is internal. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're okay, that you're building something real, that you're living on your terms, not someone else's expectations, and that if everything external disappeared tomorrow, you'd still be whole. So what do you do now? How do you live in a world that constantly tells you to want more? Here's what I've learned. First, audit your life. Look at everything you own, everything you spend money on, and ask yourself one simple question. Is this giving me freedom or taking it away? If it's taking your freedom, let it go. Not all at once, not in some dramatic purge, but slowly, intentionally, piece by piece. Second, redefine wealth. Stop measuring it by what you own. Start measuring it by what you don't need. The wealthy person isn't the one with the most things. It's the one who can live fully with the least burden. Third, build your escape fund. Whatever amount lets you walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. For some people, that's 6 months of expenses. For others, it's 2 years. The number doesn't matter. What matters is that you're actively building toward freedom. Fourth, practice gratitude for what is. Not what could be, not what you wish you had, but what's already here. The moment you start appreciating what you have is the moment you stop needing more. And finally, choose your circle carefully. Surround yourself with people who value substance over surface, who measure success by internal peace, not external display, who understand that looking poor might actually mean you're rich in all the ways that matter. That which fits your life will find its place. Small rooms, steady faces, honest voices. The path forward isn't about deprivation. It's about clarity. Knowing what matters, protecting what's real, letting go of what's not. And when you do that, when you choose freedom over display, when you choose peace over performance, when you choose authenticity over approval, something shifts, the weight lifts, the cage opens, and for the first time in years, you realize you're free. Not because you have more, but because you need less. That's the richest life. Not the one that looks impressive from the outside, but the one that feels free on the inside. And that freedom is worth more than anything you could ever buy. You came here today carrying a question. Maybe you didn't know you were carrying it, but it was there. The question of whether choosing simplicity is wisdom or weakness. And now you know. It's the bravest choice you can make in a world screaming at you to want more, to buy more, to display more. Choosing less is an act of rebellion. It's saying, I know who I am, and I don't need you to validate it with what I own. That's power, real power. The kind that doesn't disappear when the market crashes, or when trends change, or when you can't make the payment anymore. The room you've been sitting in, the one where worth is measured by display, you just walked out of it. And on this side, everything looks different, quieter, clearer, more real. If this video helped you see money differently, then the next one will help you see yourself differently. When this ends, Don't move. Let the next video begin. It's called Why a Chosen Man Always Walks Alone. And it reveals the truth no one prepares you for. Sometimes you stop chasing status because you finally outgrow the people who needed you to chase it. Stay with me. The real change starts in there.